All right, after you, sir. So this morning, done a little different motovlog setup. In front of me is the great Jason Altenberg of Appleton Harley Davidson, general manager there. He's got the Street Rod 750. Now, here's the story on the bike. All right, so they had one they knew they were getting, and before it even hit the floor, before it even got in inventory, they already had a deposit on it. So it was a no-go checking out what the bike could do. So then they they got another one they didn't expect, and that's the one he's riding this morning. I mean, this thing is brand spanking new, brand new. It's a baby. I mean, look at that. So the Street Rod 750, here's how it's set up. Suspension's been redone. It has inverted front forks. Rear suspension's been raised up over the Street 750, and it has more power than the Street 750. It is more of a cafe style bike. I told Jason to ride at his own pace. Like he is. So yeah, it's more of a cafe style bike, with the performance, the raised suspension, the lean angle's a little better. You're talking about a really sweet bike. The only thing is, it doesn't have self-canceling turn signals. There we go. But it is built for more of an urban environment. Of course, Clarksville, Tennessee, there's some urban to it, but we also have the beautiful countryside to go out and put the bike through its paces. Now, normally, I would love to be the one doing the review, but considering this is such a new bike, and everybody in the dealership's itching to, all the employees are itching to go get some tread time on that thing. Jason said, well, let's do something a little different with this review. So what he's going to do is put it to the paces, and I'm going to check out what he thinks about it afterwards. Now, granted, you know, general manager, I expect him to be honest. Oh, okay. You want me to find a way around this?
Yeah, see if
there's a way. Hold on. So a little crashing going on there. What a shame. Hope everybody's okay. Hope it wasn't any bites involved, but you know. I love GPS. So yeah, the Street 500, Street 750, and Street Rod 750 are all liquid cooled bikes. Liquid cooling gives you such a benefit because even though it doesn't have a tachometer, it is able to rev at higher limits than just the hybrid or air-cooled V-twins that Harley Davidson has, which gives it a lot bigger power band to play in. Which in a situation like this, where you got twisties where you're going up and down on your RPM, you got less need to do a lot of shifting. You know, as you can see on my bike, I'm running about $3 to $4 grand just so I can stay in a decent power band to keep up with them. That's definitely a sporty style bike. If you watch the commercial for the Street Rod 750 that I've seen on YouTube, they do advertise it as a little bit more of an aggressive bike, which is great. You know, Harley Davidson, I wouldn't say it's a stigma, but I always heard that you had to be 40 to own a Harley. I dispelled that myth. I had my first Harley long before I was 40. Taillights on that. As far as the brake light goes, I'm not so keen about that little strip of the taillight. If you do some riding in inclement weather, how's that going to show up? That's a good question, you know. You feel that bump? Or dip, excuse me. Today's Wildlife Day. Dog convention. Oh, they're so friendly. Hey, pup. Is he gonna go confess? So what do you think?
The cornering is effortless. I mean, seriously, it is.
Yeah.
It is extremely nimble. But you know, when you're coming off of a touring bike and you got such a shorter wheelbase, it's hard not to let it just, you know,
Flick it around.
Oh, it's very. I mean, just simple flicks of the wrist is all it is.
Yeah.
You know, this
Yeah, how tall are you? You're what?
About 5'10".
5'10".
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and it's more than anything, you know, I'm paranoid I'm going to burn the heel of my boot.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
I'm glad I slowed it down a little bit with the pit bulls running up the road like that.
Yeah, they were friendly too.
Yeah.
They're happy dogs.
Now, where does this take us out?
Okay, so I'm with Jason Altenberg, Appleton Harley Davidson General Manager. As I explained in the video that I was going to talk to you afterwards, get your impression of the bike. So start from the top down. Tell me what you think of the bike, and then I'm going to ask any questions, fill out any gaps.
Sure. Well, you know, right from the beginning, when you sit on the bike, you know, you get more of that sport bike feel with, you know, your seating position, along with how you're hunched up over the handlebars, and the, you know, sort of mid to a little bit further back than mid controls. So, you know, immediately you're in a, you know, racing position, so to speak. It's got the inverted front forks, a little less rake than the traditional 750. So immediately when I got out on the road, you could definitely tell the difference in how this bike was going to handle compared to the regular 750 or 500 that we use for training purposes.
You were talking about the hunch over feeling. You're 5'10". Did you feel cramped on it, or was it something you could get used to?
No, surprisingly, I didn't feel cramped on it. And, you know, mind you, I come off of a road glide where you've got a lot of room, you know, to really lounge out, so to speak. You know, and that was my first thought when I look at a bike like this, is that, well, I'm going to be really cramped and whatnot, but it is actually very comfortable for the position that you are in. You know, when you compare it to, you know, some of the sport bikes and stuff like that we trade for, like your CBRs and to those sport bikes, those bikes I really feel cramped out.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because you are more of in a tuck position that you feel that way, along with the way your legs are back behind you. But this bike is actually a very comfortable bike.
Wind on it. How was the wind? I know you're riding with a 3/4 helmet, which is your style. But how was the wind for you?
Not bad. I think you do get a little bit of wind being tunneled off of that front fairing. That does drive it maybe a little bit differently than you would if you had the regular 750 with the standard little cowl. But it wasn't too bad. But if I was going to be on that bike all day, I would have probably switched to my full face. You know, I'm used to a fairing and a windshield now, and so you know, that would have been if I was going to ride that bike all day, I probably would switch over to a full face helmet.
Speaking of all day riding, could you see yourself riding it all day?
If we could go back to roads that we were on earlier, I could absolutely see myself riding that bike all day.
Yeah. You were doing really good on there. The road was smooth, but there were a couple dips. Did you notice them at all?
Didn't even notice them.
Really?
No.
I felt them on my big one.
Yeah, didn't even notice them. You know, we had I don't know if you hit the same little gravel spots I had, but it you know, the grip on the tires was really good. I didn't feel any, you know, jolt or shake or anything like that. So, you know, that was a good little stretch to try to really get a good test for the bike and to see how it handles and feels.
So you're thinking the new suspension setup over the regular Street 750, the Street Rod 750 with the inverted front end, and new rear shock setup is a lot better setup for canyon carbon than the Street?
Absolutely. The Street, you know, the 500 and 750, they obviously have their purpose, and they're a great around town bike, and you know, for that urban, you know, commuter and things like that, it's a great bike for that. I think this bike is intended more for more of that aggressive rider, somebody that is really looking to really tear through the twisties on it, more of your adrenaline junkie type rider. I have a feeling that if those that have already bought 500s and 750s came and test rode this bike, they're going to be a little jealous.
Be a little jealous. I mean, they retooled the engine a little bit as far as the specs go. Could you feel that?
Oh yeah, it took a little getting used to when, you know, I had the tach set on the odometer, and so I was really trying to watch where my RPMs were and where I was in my RPM range to avoid heavy braking through some of those curves. And you could tell, you know, a good RPM range for that bike was somewhere in the mid 3000s. And even at when we got on some straightaways, when I got up into 6th gear, you know, when we were going about 60 miles an hour, we were still probably doing about 3,000 RPMs in that range. So, you know, when I was going through the curves, I was looking to stay more into that higher RPM, so I would have to do less braking as I'm whipping through them. So
yeah, engine heat. You were talking about the brakes, but what about the engine heat? You were running higher RPMs. Did you feel any engine heat?
Didn't even really feel anything noticeable.
So that full liquid cooled setup is really comfortable.
Yeah, it was. I mean, nothing felt out of the ordinary whatsoever. Nothing that would have, you know, raised any like, oh, well, you know. I did notice when we pulled in, the fan immediately kicked on to help, you know, cool the motor. But in general, no, it was very comfortable. It is, you know, we've got a beautiful day out today. It's mid 60s.
Yeah.
You know, so it wasn't any noticeable, but, you know, I'd be interested to take it back out again later this afternoon when it's mid 80s. And then let's get a feel for how the heat is. But, you know, I'd say the liquid cool is definitely did its job.
Okay. So we know it's a really good setup bike. You said it's for the adrenaline junkie. What demographic other than adrenaline junkie? Because they come in all ages and sizes. What demographic are you seeing this?
You know, when I think of this bike, and you know, this is just my opinion, of course, but when I think of this bike and what Harley has done with it, it reminds me a lot of what we used to have with the mules. And you know, specifically, it reminds me of the Lightning or the Firebolts that they had back in the, you know, early 2000s. And that type of buyer was somebody that was definitely a more technical rider, that was one that could really appreciate the engineering that went behind the bike. You know, when you look at a lot of your guys that are riding sport bikes and stuff like that, a lot of them are, you know, they're into big horsepower, running, you know, red light to red light. And, you know, we joke all the time that anybody can do that kind of riding. You know, to get out there and really run the curves and run the twisties takes a little bit different level of expertise and a different skill level. And, you know, so I see this being a bike that would be really attractive to that sort of demographic of somebody that is looking for something to have, you know, as a weekender toy to really get out and just, you know, fulfill that need.
Yeah, I think so too, especially with that price point. Price point on it, if you go on the Harley website, it's actually really reasonable for what it is. And as I was explaining to the video, you've got the ability to either stay with this and be aggressive sporty, or if you want to get a little bit older and you want to get slow down a little bit, you could, you know, transition into like a soft tail or a dyno.
Oh, sure.
But this would be, I could see like college guys, soldiers, even some mid-age guys that just want something to throw around on the weekend and just have fun with.
Oh, you know, for somebody like myself, mid-40s, have been riding a touring bike for a number of years now, this would be an excellent second bike, you know, for when I have an hour to spare and I could get out and just, you know, really run one pretty hard. It would be just a phenomenal bike to do.
Speaking of which, you were running pretty hard. Yeah, that was good. It's impressive.
Trying to still keep in mind that it is in the break-in period. I tried not to get too aggressive with it, but it's a fun motorcycle.
So I explained to the video that you guys had one, and before you can hit this dealership,
already got
a deposit, and then you, just by surprise, got the second. I have a suspicion other dealers are probably going to be running for the same thing.
Sure.
But I think that if somebody's looking for one, it'd be definitely worth checking out.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely worth taking for a test ride. If you are even the most, you know, little bit interested, it's definitely worth coming out and taking a test ride. You know, I think when you look at these and the timing of when it was released, anytime you get into a mid-model year release on a new model in particular, the availability isn't as much. So, you know, if it is something that somebody was interested in, definitely come by and check it out. Because, you know, once this is gone, you know, it could be a little while before we get another one back.
True. So you hear that, you know, come on up here to Appleton's. If you're in the Middle Tennessee area, check it out. Check out your local Harley dealer if you're not in the Middle Tennessee area. Check out the Harley Demo Days on Harley's website. I explained to the audience that this is probably going to be the future of Harley Davidson. Air cool's great, but, you know, we're running into heat issues and stuff like that.
Sure.
Yeah, and they're coming out with the new 107 Milwaukee 8. It's supposed to alleviate some of that. But if you watch the video, you see what I'm running on my touring bike to keep up with this nice, aggressive bike. And I would have loved to have been in the saddle, you know, swap places with it. But I know there's a line waiting to get this thing out.
There is a line waiting.
So I won't keep you any longer. I know you got a lot to do. But thank you, Jason.
You're very welcome.
And
pleasure doing it.
Thanks to the dealership for, again, letting me come out and check these things out. So people out there who are interested can at least say, hey, let me do a little bit of research, see what's going on with this. Because like you said, the streets, they were 750 to 500 to have their purpose. They were